This photograph shows a performer with a solid steel sword fully inserted down his throat. When someone swallows a sword on stage, the brain naturally looks for a trick. It tries to categorize the act as a clever illusion, a sleight of hand designed to fool the eye. This historical sideshow banner advertises a Hindu sword swallower, right alongside magic acts and curiosities. For over a century, performers marketed this as a mystical spectacle to draw a crowd. But there is no hidden sleeve, and the metal does not collapse into the handle. The performer is forcing a solid, sharp steel blade directly into their body. To understand the mechanics involved, we have to look at the human esophagus. It is a soft, delicate biological tube that follows a natural curve. The performer must drive the rigid, unforgiving geometry of a straight metal blade through that highly sensitive, winding digestive tract. This is a high-stakes mechanical feat performed entirely with and against the internal organs. If a blade is forced down a throat in its natural resting position, the metal will immediately puncture the curved esophageal wall. Survival depends entirely on a macro-physical adjustment made before the blade even touches the lips. The performer must tilt their head severely backward. This animation shows how extreme backward neck extension erases biological curves, physically aligning the mouth, throat, and esophagus into a single vertical axis. The clearance is incredibly tight. If the performer deviates a fraction of an inch, the blade will slice through internal tissue. They temporarily re-engineer their own skeletal structure, forcing their fleshy, curved throat to function as a rigid, perfectly straight scabbard. Establishing that straight path only solves the physical geometry. As soon as the metal enters the mouth, the body's autonomous security system kicks in to attack the foreign object. The first barrier is the epiglottis, the small flap of cartilage that protects the windpipe. Touching the area around it triggers the involuntary gag reflex. This video shows throat muscle tissue in violent contraction. It's an evolutionary response designed to aggressively spasm and expel anything threatening the airway. Performers undergo years of grueling physiological training to consciously override and silence this automatic neurological response. If that reflex triggers while the sword is mid-descent, the violent muscle contraction will forcefully push the delicate throat tissue directly into the sharp steel edges. Success in this phase requires absolute conscious control over millions of years of evolutionary survival instincts. The final stage tracks the blade as it passes through the lower esophageal sphincter and physically enters the stomach cavity. At this depth, the performer faces a unique physiological challenge. Our internal organs lack precise tactile sensory feedback. They cannot feel exactly where the sharp tip of the blade is resting. The tip hovers just millimeters above the folded lining of the stomach. A rogue hiccup, a cough, or a microflinch at this depth will instantly puncture vital organs with zero warning. Breaching the stomach is the absolute climax of the descent, the point of maximum depth where the margin for error disappears. When we return to the external visual of the performer standing calmly on stage with the blade fully swallowed, the perspective shifts. Every movement is an exercise in applied anatomical engineering. This is a high-stakes confrontation of mind over matter, where human consciousness must simultaneously defeat biological geometry and involuntary neurological reflexes. Because surviving this act relies entirely on millimeter-perfect anatomical manipulation, attempting this without years of specialized training carries an immediate, severe risk of internal hemorrhage or death.